Hey gamers, it's Wintermute here from Grind This Game, and the Rocketry Upgrade is out in preview as of today, I think, or yesterday maybe, and we have rockets now, as you can see, pretty awesome. I'm going to kind of go through the research that you need to build one of these bad boys. So let's first head into the research map. There's a whole bunch of stuff in this update. Hopefully I can cover it all, but let's just see here. So in the research tree we have. Maybe I'll point out all the new stuff and then we'll get back to rockets. So under celestial detection, we've got this new astronaut training center where we train our dupes to be able to take that rocket up into space. We've got a telescope, which is used for a new type of research, like a super advanced type of research, which I'll show you. We've got some new types of storage. We've got the gas bottle emptier, gas bottler, and gas reservoir. So gas reservoir is just a little, I'll get into these in a bit. And then we've got the liquid reservoir. And then over here we've got basic rocketry, which has a cargo bay, the command module, the Gantry, the petroleum rocket engine, and the liquid fuel tank. And as you can see, this requires the new interstellar research, which is a new kind of research type which requires the telescope to get research. So I'll cover that in a bit here. And then over to the right, we've got intermediate rocketry, which has a few new parts, which I'll go over. So you can get a basic rocket going and get to some of the things in outer space. But if you want to do some of the more farther away exotic places, you need the intermediate rocketry. And down here, we've got some other new stuff. We've got, under catalytics, we've got this new oxalate refinery, which allows you to turn oxygen directly into oxalate, which could be useful, and it takes a tiny amount of gold as well, like pure gold. So what else do we have here? I think that might be it in terms of the research tree. So I'll just talk about rockets briefly here. Actually, before rockets, let's talk about this telescope. So we got Ellie up here. She requires, let's go into the jobs here. She requires to be a tenured scientist to be able to do some of this new advanced research. So the telescope, it needs some visibility up into space to work. The animations are so cute here. But the problem is dupes get burnt by sunlight if you leave them in sunlight too long. Now this is all preview, so this might all change, but right now I've got a little bit of tiles above here, just or a few tiles above, to keep the light off her so that she doesn't burn. But if you click on the actual telescope, you can see reduced visibility. So I think that's reducing the speed at which she's doing research, but she's still able to do some research. Now, in order to do this research, you need glass. So that's one of the components that's going in, and you can see down here. So glass, it also needs oxygen. So there's an oxygen line going in, and it requires 120 watts of power. So I've got like a little kind of bedroom for her up here, and our astronauts, once they're trained, we're going to send them up into the command module. So that's how you do research, the new advanced research. Let's see. Let's build a basic rocket. I've built two so far. There's one off that's in space right now, and we've got another one here. But let's go into the star map so we can see. This is a whole new screen, pretty cool. So there's different distances that you can go. We can see here we got a carbon asteroid, and it's got refined carbon on it, some coal, and some diamond. And as we go up here, we've got a rocky asteroid, which has these elements and a hatch. But if you hover over, you can see if you need iron, if you want to get some iron, you're going to need a cargo bay. And if you want to get the stone hatch, I don't know how many you get actually, but you're going to need a biological cargo bay. Over here we got the metallic asteroid that has smooth hatches, which is cool. And some refined metal, so that could be cool. You got an ice planet, which has wheezeworts and sleet wheat. So if you ever run out of wheezeworts, you can go off planet and get them. And this organic mass has a new creature, the Gassy Moo, and a new plant called the grass seed, which I'll go over in a bit here. So to go longer and longer distances, let's just see here. I'll click on one of my rockets. there's like a preview where you can see all your a brief amount of your rocket, but if you click on it, you get all this detailed information. So we can see the launch checklist, what we need. We need fuel in the tanks, we need an astronaut, we need a destination that's reachable. So your tanks have a certain amount of weight, but there's a small weight penalty you get depending on what your loadout is. So I've got 3 cargo bays on this rocket because I want to be able to get lots of stuff. 3 fuel tanks, so we can, that might be overkill. And then you can see the cargo bay and their capacity, so they can hold 20 tons. And I got 3 of them. And there's a slight bug here which shows this red dot even though the fuel tanks are full. And then you got your passenger. There's only 1 that you can take so far, but I'll go back to the list. So let's just see here. This rocket's actually ready to go, but our astronaut is off in space right now. If I go back here and I look at the other rocket, you can see it's underway. And then there's I think a bug here that shows the time remaining. So it takes about 4 cycles for the rocket to get, I think I sent, I can't remember where I sent them, but I think I sent them around here. And so we'll come back once that rocket comes back. And then we'll launch the other one here once our astronaut gets back. Now to train your astronauts, let's go back to our village here. I got a little base going on here. I built all this in sandbox mode, so it's very cheaty, but let's just see here. We need a astronaut training center to be able to train up our astronauts. This thing requires 480 watts of power, which is quite a bit. Now you'll notice this is a kind of something separate, but the heat actual generation, I think they changed the units here. So they're DTUs now instead of, I think they were, I can't remember what they were before. Watts, I think, maybe. Anyway, so you need, let's go into the jobs and take a look. So you need a cadet first, and a cadet needs to have mastered tenured scientist and exosuit engineer, which is quite a bit. So this is going to take a while to get through the skill tree and get all the way up to cadet. And then once they're at cadet, they can train in this astronaut training center. And let's speed up and send someone in there. I think we have Frankie should be training. Let's just find out where Frankie is. Frankie, where are you? I think Frankie's relaxing right now. So Frankie will eventually get in here and it spins around and they get training as they go along. Now it might be that they actually are able to train without this thing, but I'm not quite sure yet. Have to do more testing. So once they get trained up in that, they can graduate to become an astronaut. And so you can see it requires the mastery of the cadet job. So that's, once you get them up there, then you're able to put them in the rocket. Let's go back up top here. And you need a little bit of you need this gantry here, which you can kind of pull back and forth. With some, if you look at the automation here, you can see you hook up the automation to the gantry. You also need power, 120 watts. Sorry, 1200 watts. Oh, I didn't realize that. That's a crazy amount of power. But you only have to use it once in a while to put the gantry out, get the dupe in there, pull it back, and then you can launch. Now be careful when you're launching, because if you have tiles in the way, it'll just blast right through. So you'll probably have to use blast doors. I'm using a cheat right now where the steam turbine actually blocks all this debris that's coming down in the meteorites, and it also doesn't destroy the steam turbine, so this is a good way to block for now. That allows sunlight to still get through, so you can still do solar power. So I just did that so I could hook all this up quickly. So we'll come back once we have a dupe that's ready to go. Actually, oh, there's Frankie training on the astronaut training center. Pretty crazy. So you can see the status bar going up. That's his experience. So if you go under jobs, you can see Frankie's at 11%. So this kind of matches up with the job experience. So, oh, there's one other thing I should mention about rockets before we move on to other stuff here. They require petroleum to run. So I've got liquid fuel tank here. I've got 3 of them. It holds 900 kilograms of petroleum. So it's going to take a lot of petroleum to be able to get off the planet and get out into the asteroids. So I've got a petroleum tank here that I'm kind of filling up. Here's a new building here, the liquid reservoir. It holds 5 tons of liquid. So it acts as a nice buffer tank so that you don't have to necessarily use these old kind of square tanks anymore. You can use a bunch of these. They don't hold a whole lot, but still pretty useful. Now let's just build a third rocket here just so you can see what it's like to build one. So you got your petroleum rocket engine, and these all require steel, and they have an overheat temperature of 2000. So you kind of build from the bottom up. Now, dupes building these, you'd probably need a ladder and some scaffolding and stuff, but I'm just doing it with debug mode. And then you need 1 or more fuel tanks, depending on how far you want to go. And then I don't think you need anything else technically. I think you could just do a command module. That's like the smallest rocket you could build. But then you wouldn't be able to bring anything back, so it'd be kind of a useless journey. So let's say we just wanted to go on a basic mission and get some cargo, so we do a cargo bay, and then we do a command module. And then you would need a gantry for them to walk out on there. So we'll turn ours around here, and it has to line up right under the door. When I tried it earlier, if you put it up one or down one, they can't really get in there. And then you need to hook up some automation to be able to retract it. Then you fill it up, send some pipes into it with petroleum, kind of like this. Oh. I won't actually do it because I've already got these set up. There's one bug right now where the petroleum keeps flowing, or at least it used to, even when the rocket's not there, but I'm sure they'll fix that. So that's kind of how you build out rockets. Let's go back to the base. Now I'll go over some of the other things here. We've got some new bottle emptiers. We've got a gas reservoir, which you can, let's just see here. I think a lot of this stuff is under the base buildings. So gas reservoir has an intake pipe, has an output pipe. So it's essentially a gas storage tank, and it holds 150 kilograms of gas. It doesn't require any power, which is nice. So it's just a big bottle. And then we also have a gas bottler. So you put an input line in. Let's just connect this up. I had a little gas pump here, a mini pump, pumping gas in here. So they can hold different types of gas. So I've got carbon dioxide in here, oxygen in here. And then it'll fill up these little bottles. Right now you can't pick which bottle you want to fill up, so I guess it just uses the first one it encounters, but you should probably filter the gas before you put it in here. And then it fills a little bottle, and then the bottle can be dropped off at this new building called the gas bottle emptier. And you can decide which gas you want to empty out. So let's say you wanted a tiny room and you wanted to fill it up with, I don't know, chlorine gas. You could suck some chlorine gas out of a place like this, put it in here, contain it all nice so it doesn't leak out everywhere, and then put a gas emptier, bottle emptier in a special new room that you only want chlorine in, and then the dupes can bring it in, and it just kind of vents out these little vents there. Oh, I got a lot of hatches. Crazy. Okay, I guess I should talk about these guys over here. These are the Gassy Moos. They're the new critter that you can get on that organic planet. Now, I'm not sure they're working as expected right now. I can see that these guys are, let's click on them here. They're hungry, even though I've been trying to ranch them. And it seems like they eat the gas grass, which is this stuff that's growing here. Now, I have some growing here wild, which you wouldn't be able to do, I don't think. Because you can't really, you can only plant it. Once you get the seed off the other planet, I think you'll only be able to plant it in a planter. And strangely, for domestication of this thing, and this might all change, it requires chlorine, liquid chlorine. So I'm feeding it liquid chlorine out of a chlorine tank here. So I hope they change this, because that's going to be a challenging plant to grow, because you're going to have to get a bunch of chlorine gas, cool it down, liquefy it, and then pump it in here. So it is growing. It also says it's too dark right now. It's sleeping, but it's actually... I don't think it is sleeping. Because if I put a light in there, it doesn't change anything. So we got light now, but it's still too dark. Maybe we need to grow this on the surface. Maybe that's how you do it. I didn't actually try that out. Maybe I'll try that out. So these things are pretty crazy. They eat this gas grass and they give off natural gas. They've got these little udders. They kind of look like seals or manatees or something. They're so cute. I can't wait to see the final art on these guys. So neat. Now there's some changes to the way oil, natural gas, and petroleum works. You used to be able to heat up crude oil and then turn it into petroleum, and then you could heat up the petroleum into natural gas. They've changed the way that this works, so now if you heat up petroleum, you don't get natural gas anymore. Now you get sour gas, which is this purple gas here. And as far as I know, there's nothing really you can do with the sour gas just yet. But if the sour gas cools down, it turns into naphtha, which has some very limited uses, but it's not super useful. So that's the gas bottler, liquid bottlers. There's some new game types, which I'll show you at the very end of the video if I can remember. There's that new critter. I'm just going through my list of the update notes here. I'm gonna skip ahead. Oh, here's the oxalite thing. I didn't talk about this. So the oxalite refinery, we're sending in oxygen, pure oxygen. It's using a little bit of gold, which you can see here. It's got, if I can click on it, it's got a little bit of gold in there. It's using 2,500 milligrams per second. And it's just dumping oxalate on the ground here, which probably isn't the best place. You should probably use a conveyor and send it off into some storage so it doesn't give off any gas. But right now, because this room is pressurized, it's actually not, it's not giving off its gas, which is nice. So I'm going to skip ahead here and wait until the rocket gets back and Hassan gets back, because he's our only astronaut at the moment. And then we'll launch a rocket. Actually, Abe is ready to go. He's one of our other astronauts here, so I'm going to teleport him up here. Abe, is that the right one? We only have one Abe, right? Oh, cadet, here. He hasn't changed jobs yet. We'll have to wait till he changes jobs, but let's just bring him up here and see. Oh, now he's an astronaut. There we go. So let's bring him up here, if we can. And I just teleported the wrong thing. Abe, where are you? Oh, it doesn't update in this menu. Okay, now we got him. Let's bring him up here. There he is. I think he was busy composting. Get the little fork. Okay, let's go into the star map. Click on our rocket that's grounded, this one right here. And we're gonna assign a place to go. Let's go to the, let's go to, I can't seem to launch. What am I missing? I think I have fuel. Oh, he's going in. He's going in. Okay. He can't launch until the dupe goes in. So he's in there now. Let's go back to the star map. And... okay, grounded. Launch rocket. We're ready to go here. Let me just slow things down so we can see this thing in action. And we're ready to go. We're ready to launch. Kerplow. Okay, here we go. Now, if you look at the heat, this generates a ton of heat when it goes. The rocket doesn't get hot necessarily, but it's giving off tons of CO2 here. Oh, I love the ice falling off. So cool. And so you can see all the CO2 flowing out the back. And there it goes. Off into space. Now, like I said, if there's any kind of bunker tile in the way, it'll just destroy it. Ellie's in there. She just said goodbye to Abe. So that'll go off into space now. Let's see. Now we got 2 underway. I'm going to wait till the other one comes back and then we can see a little landing if I can catch it on camera. But there is another small part of the well, actually I don't know if it's small, but there's another part of the update, which is updates to the codex. So if you click some of these mysterious buildings and you do inspect, and then you view the entry. Okay, that one's not as interesting, but when I clicked on this one, I got some really cool information. And then it shows up somewhere in your database. I wasn't able to actually find it. Let's see if we can find another one here. Yeah, here we go. The printing prod promo. So it's got more information, and there's more of that sprinkled around throughout the map. I don't know if the sofa has one. You just have to click on electronic display. I haven't even looked at this one yet. Not much in there yet, but it's basically telling the backstory, which is pretty cool. I want to learn about more of the history of the dupes here. There's one other final thing I want to talk about. I don't know if it's the final thing, but that is fossil. So there's a new type of ore called fossil, which you can turn into lime now in the rock granulator. So under here, fossil to lime. Instead of using eggshells, which was kind of could be tough to get enough shells to produce the lime, which you use for steel, now you can just turn fossils into lime. And you'll find fossils down at the bottom of the map. Here's some right here. So there's quite a bit down in the oil biome. So I think they did that because it's going to require a ton of steel to build these rockets and bunker doors and all the rest. So useful that they added that. So I wasn't able to catch a rocket landing, but I wanted to show you the other new part of this update. So when you start a new game now, you have kind of two choices. You have like a standard kind of mode and an easier mode. And you can kind of see that from the description. I think they're going to change the art of this, but so if you click on the standard one, you can see immune systems is regular, duplicate mode regular, morale stress is regular, hunger rate regular. And the easier one over here, the one whistling, immune systems are strong, duplicate modes are optimistic, morale stress is easy, and hunger rate is really easy. So it's basically an easy mode. But then there's, I think these morale stress and hunger rate are kind of new. So you can make it really, really easy, or you can make it like super hard, ravaging hunger. But you can make it so they don't even have to eat. And you can basically turn off morale. So depending on how hard or easy you want to play through. And that's the last thing I want to talk about in this update. I want to keep this video short. And there's a lot of new exciting stuff. I'm sure it's going to evolve over the next 2 weeks. I'm looking forward to playing it. I probably will do a full playthrough once this is out for real. But I'll be tinkering away, playing with the preview build for the next 2 weeks. I'll do an update video if things change drastically, but hope you enjoyed that. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.